Well, of course, I mean, when you smoke a cigar,
with ash holes.
it'd be cool. You put the cigar in, and then you
start the fucking video.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Guess who it is? It's Artie again, the cigar guy, and we're here in Smoke Signals. Today I have my guest, Johnny Bananas, and we're going to talk everything New York City, including food, cigars, and about the general geography and topography of my favorite city. So stay tuned, and we'll have much more for you here on City World Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining me here on Smoke Signals. So I'm actually here with a good buddy of mine, Johnny Bananas. How you doing, Johnny?
Hey there, doing all right.
So the reason that I brought Johnny in today is because we had two other people on. We had the weatherman, and then we had the lawyer, Rob, right? And then this is the holy trinity right here, the Johnny Bananas, the last member of the River Boys, little smoking group that we have. And the reason that I wanted to bring him on is because I wanted to have an episode just to talk about New York. And John, if I'm not mistaken, are you a native of the city? You've lived here your whole life, or how does it work? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I moved around a lot when I was little and grew up in New Jersey mostly, but I've been here since college, and that's since '93. So
okay, so most of your adult life has
25 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing that I've noticed is that you seem to really know, like, the nice little areas, nice little tidbits of information. Like, whenever I bring something up, you're always like, oh, this place is great, or that place is great, and you always seem to have really good suggestions about, like, what to do and where to go. Food-related, like, history-related, you're always like, oh, that building is the blah, 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 this building is da-da-da-da-da, always with these nice little tidbits and facts. And that's why I wanted to get you on, because I wanted you to kind of, like, fill in a lot of those gaps that I have about the city with some of your NYC knowledge. And on top of that, I think you're working on a little bit of literature about New York right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm working on a book. We'll see how it goes. I'm on what I believe to be the final draft before I present it. And it's been a lot of work. I've been doing a lot of original research instead of just reading through other tour guides and copying everything.
So what do you mean original research? That means you've been going to these places, checking them out?
Well, yeah, some of it's been going around. Some of it's been doing research online on different people, places, history, stuff like that.
So what I wanted to ask you is, what was actually the inspiration that wanted you to make this book? Because, like, I feel like there's got to be something that happens that makes you go from, I don't want to make a book, to I want to make a book. Do you know what that was?
No, it's just sort of an idea I'd played around with for a while. And, it's a different take on a tour guide, and it has evolved a lot since then. But, yeah, it's coming along pretty well.
So you're saying it's something that's just been stewing for a long time, and you don't have an exact moment where you were like, I want to make this. Not something that you saw or not? No? Okay.
No, nothing. But
gotcha. No, listen.
There was a moment when I wanted to move on to Paris, but...
Well, look, all I'm saying is
that's the next step.
Sometimes people, have a moment like that. But I understand that there's some things that you can't, like, really place. Like, I can't really, for instance, place, like, my love of cigars, right? It's just something that kind of, like, built up over time. If you were to ask me, like, what was the moment that you fell in love with them, I really wouldn't be able to tell you. I could tell you memorable cigars that I've had, right, as can you. And that's another reason why I wanted Johnny on, is because me and Johnny's another avid cigar smoker. And even though today I do want to focus on New York, there is a little bit that I do want to bring in as far as cigars go. And I know you know about this, Johnny, so pretty much to get it started, I want to tell you guys a little bit about Paley Park. Now, have you been to Paley Park, Johnny?
I had passed by it a whole bunch of times, but never gone in. It's nice. It's got the little waterfall and little plaza, and I didn't realize that you could smoke cigars there or cigarettes.
Yeah. So it's located on East 53rd between Madison and Fifth Avenue.
Right.
It's really, really nice. It has a nice waterfall in the background, which is actually like one of the biggest private area like waterfalls. It's actually pretty big. I heard it's not like anything to joke around. Now, the Paley Park was actually made to be a private area by William Paley, who was like a big boss at CBS, I believe. And what he did is he wanted to have this area, and what's nice about it is one of the only, like you said, one of the only public areas where you're allowed to smoke. If they have a guy there that brings you an ashtray and everything, and all this is paid for, and it's great. It's like one of the little gems, right? Because what I notice is people who come into the city, right? They always, well, you got the cigar lounges, right? But people always ask like, hey, what if it's like spring or summer and you want to smoke outside? What would you tell them?
I mean, the great thing about New York is, there are so many different kinds of people walking around. If you find a bench to sit, if you want to sit outside there or Paley Park or over by the river or, I know people.
Oh, by the river. River Boys?
Yeah.
Oh, I can second that.
But yeah, I mean, the only two lounges I go to really are the Cigar Inn, owned by Casa de Monte Cristo, and they have a bunch of locations across the country. And I haven't really been to that many other cigar bars in the city.
No, listen, I get it. That's the one I used to work at, and it's one of the ones that I love the most too. So I understand. You don't really need much else.
It's kind of like Cheers, which is nice. You walk in and everybody knows you, and Johnny Bananas, what's up?
Damn, this is a nice plug. Maybe hopefully they hear this. They'll upgrade your membership to a platinum.
That would be nice.
Give you a locker, right, for the shout out.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like Paley Park though, I find is unique because there's not many outdoor establishments that are made to specifically accommodate cigar smokers. You know what I mean? So that's it's spelled Paley, Paley Park. So if there's any of you guys that come into the city, you want to have a nice cigar, again, there's a nice ambient noise or a nice waterfall. The guy brings you an ashtray. It's great. Paley Park. Go check it out.
So yeah, I've only been there once to sit and smoke, and apparently there's a Davidoff store about a block or so away from there.
Yes.
So if you want to sit out in the park, it's just about 3 or 4 doors east of Fifth Avenue on 53rd Street. It's right there between 5th and Madison. And yeah, you go in, you ask the guy for an ashtray, and he'll give you one, and you just bring it back when you're done. And then they have standing ones around, and just very comfortable and nice to have that freedom to do it where you could everywhere before but can't anymore now.
Can you think of any other? I can't think of any other place that's like this in the unique sense that it's a privately owned, open to the public, specifically for smoking. It's very unique in that sense, right in the smack dab of the city as well. So that's really interesting. So again, if anyone's in the city, please go check it out. And you said it was next to Davidoff. It's also actually by the other Cigar Inn on East 53rd, right? It's
not far.
It's like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
about
smack dab.
5-10 minute walk.
It's right in, well, not right in between, but in between two cigar lounges. So it's actually really like appropriately positioned. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is also just something related to cigars real quick in New York, is that between like the 1880s and the 1920s, there was actually, a lot of people don't know this, but New York City was one of these cigar rolling like centers of the planet. Like they were pumping out so many cigars at that time that they actually had to pass a law in New York not allowing people to roll cigars in their apartments. So like before, there was like about 1,500 to 1,800 kind of like operations inside of apartments. Just people rolling cigars in their house and selling them. And it was so many people were doing this that they had to actually pass a law, which they amended 4 months later because it was very unconstitutional if you think about it. But it was something that actually did happen. And a lot of people don't really actually realize how important for at least that time period tobacco was to New York. It was after about the 1920s, that's when Florida took over. You know what I mean? You had like the Clear Havana, you had the Ybor City, which was considered the cigar capital of the world, even till today. But New York City had this like really, really long past with it. Did you know about any of this, or
I did. I mean, I knew they had grown some over on in the West Village. I know there were some farms for tobacco and things like that because the Dutch had gone. They had discovered, they were there for the New World, the Dutch and the Brits, and they were setting things up and they were testing out different crops. So they tried them in New York, growing tobacco. They found out it thrived in Virginia and that area, so they planted a lot there. But they did. They planted a lot here, too. And then in the Connecticut Valley, which is Connecticut, Massachusetts, and even part of New Hampshire, I believe.
Yeah, the Connecticut Valley is really, really big when it comes to the cigar world. That's like, right now I would say that would probably be like the center. They produce pretty much the most of it. Here, I actually have a couple interesting statistics. Check this out. Out of New York State, right, there's 364 cities and towns, right, that had 4,495 cigar factories.
Wow.
4,500 cigar factories in the state of New York, and 1,875 of them were in mid and lower Manhattan alone. All right? Just to give you an example of just how crazy this was, right? And the cigars that were made in New York at the time was 10 times greater than all the cigars that came out of Cuba during the same time period. Can you believe that?
That's incredible. I knew New York was a manufacturing capital for a long time for a lot of things like clothing and all that, but I didn't realize that they were that big with cigars.
Huge, like absolutely massive. And people are quite familiar with, like, for instance, like Tampa, Florida, and Ybor City and all that. People know about they pump out tons of cigars from Florida still. People know about Connecticut because you have the very popular Connecticut leaf. You have the VSG, Virginia tobacco. You know what I mean? But it's like nobody knows that New York used to be this huge tobacco town as well. And I mean, I get it, right? Because I guess if you look at it in the long run, the temperature isn't really that superb, I would say. For not growing tobacco, I think is fine. Maintaining tobacco, I would say, like a good part of the year.
That's the part that confuses me a little bit because there are 3 S's. There's the soil, sun, and what's the third one?
Seed.
Seed, okay. So I don't think of New York City having very fertile soil the way you would need it for tobacco, but apparently it did pretty well.
Well, again, they didn't exactly. I don't know if they grew the tobacco here. They might have just imported it and then rolled it. I don't know. Okay. That's a great question. But what I'll tell you is that New York does get really cold. At least, like it's November right now. It's pretty frigid outside. It's like 35 degrees, and it's just not good for maintaining tobacco at all. Sure. Like if you're fermenting tobacco and 30, like these fermentation houses are usually wooden sheds, usually outdoors. Right. And they're usually like really, not weatherproof.
And New York's a little humid, generally speaking, and I think you want to keep it at 70, and there are too many fluctuations. Do you want to do that when aging tobacco too, or just maintaining your cigars at 70%?
You're saying New York City has an 80% humidity?
It ranges. It goes up.
There's no way, because then I could just leave my cigars outside. But cigars that stay outside get really dry.
Right.
No, and there's no way.
Right. I think
if it rains,
think that average is 60% across.
In New York?
In New York.
Let's see, I didn't know that. I mean, that's not bad. 60 degrees is
percent.
Enough to maintain. Percent, excuse me.
Right.
Yes.
Relative humidity.
But also, so humidity is a big factor, but so is temperature.
Right.
And it definitely gets way too cold in New York to maintain cigars. Like,
I would think.
Right now, you would not be able to ferment shit. All your leaves would just completely freeze up, dry up, would be garbage. Anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, and I think that's about where the cigar talk ends. I mean, we could talk about it a little bit more, but I want to delve into really the nitty gritty of New York, and I think the best place to start would be with food, right? New York is I think New York is amazing when it comes to food. I mean, especially over the last 20 years, a little bit to do with gentrification. You know, like you've had a lot of the neighborhoods gentrified, and you've had new types of food pop up, all you know, artisanal mayonnaise and shit like that. You know, what I mean?
Right.
Like really weird stuff. But also, you know, you got the good old fashioned New York slice of pizza. You know what I mean? Like even in Manhattan, which is arguably one of the most expensive, like top 5 expensive cities in the whole world, you can still get a dollar slice.
Yeah, and I guess New York sells the least amount of frozen pizza per capita of anywhere in the United States because there's the least amount of frozen pizza. So yeah, of course, because you would go around the corner and get a slice or two instead of heating up your oven, putting it in, and all that.
So whenever I think about pizza, I kind of put it in the same boat as like the pizza and the bagels. I feel like when you think New York, you think of the pizza and the bagels, and I think there's nothing more that speaks to this than if you look at California, where I think there's restaurants in California that literally import water from New York,
right?
Just to make their
pizza and their bagels.
Pizza and bagels, because apparently the New York water, there's something special about it that makes particularly delicious pizza and particularly delicious bagels. What do you got there? Show me.
These are just some of the New York foods that are traditional New York foods, whether or not they were invented here.
So that's So just to be clear, what are you talking about? What? Explain to people what you have in your hand.
Okay, I've got a rough copy of the book I'm working on, and one of the parts is on New York foods.
Go ahead, tell people about it.
All right, so I mean pizza. The first pizzeria in the city was, or in the United States, was here in the city. Mm-hmm. And
a lot of Italian immigrants came to New York. Well, right. Ellis Island, right? So pretty much everybody came to New York.
Yeah. Huge influx of people. Mm-hmm. And even though you think of there being a lot of Sicilians coming in, there were a lot of people from Naples. Mm. And Naples, the Neapolitan crust from Naples is a very thin crust, and the Chicago crust is more like Sicilian, which is a very thick crust. But so Grimaldi's grocer opened up a shop just to sell tomato pies and pizza because they had been doing so well at their grocery store that they expanded and had the first pizzeria.
So what was the first one? Grimaldi's?
Grimaldi's.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you know what year was that? Approximately.
I don't remember offhand.
Oh, good. So what you got there about bagels?
All right. Well, just I don't have much about the history of bagels.
Well, I'll tell you, bagels back in the day were way different than they are now.
Sure.
If you take a look at a bagel, the hole has gotten smaller and smaller throughout the years. Like the bagel used to be pretty much like 60% whole and like 40% bagel.
I've been to Montreal and it's like that. They're these.
Yeah, really?
They're these. Yeah, a friend of mine and I were
going. Shout out to Canada.
Yeah. A friend of mine from Virginia Beach and I drove up to Canada to go see a friend's band play, Disciples of Ursula from Montreal. Fantastic band.
Okay.
And he's from Virginia Beach. He wanted to try the bagels in New York and Montreal because they're both famous for their bagels. Mm-hmm. And when he came up to pick me up on his way up, we had a bagel from this place I like on 2nd Avenue and 56th Street, Hot Jumbo Bagels, always fresh. We went in there, got some bagels, and headed on up to Montreal. And when we got up there, we ordered these bagels that from a place a friend recommended. We all went and sat down, and it was hilarious. They were these thin little lumpy bagels that were nothing like the New York bagels.
Yeah. Again, the bagels back in the day used to all be like that.
Yeah,
so
huge holes, maybe 2 inches, around.
All right, so let's get to the nitty gritty real quick. So, favorite pizza slice?
All right, it seems to be John's is the most popular down on Bleecker Street. Everyone says that's the best.
No. I'm sorry. What do you think? What's your favorite? I like Delicia.
Delicia's okay. Yeah.
Then there's Marinara. So
Marinara I haven't been to.
It's east First Avenue between 53rd and 54th, right around the corner.
I know that spot.
I know some people that wouldn't like that place too much because it's got really oily cheese and pepperoni, like a lot of oil on those slices. So I know some people would not appreciate that. Yeah. So okay. So how about you? What do you think?
I just tried some from Salvo's the other week or two ago, and that was pretty good.
Okay, let me make it a little less difficult for you. What type of slice is your favorite?
Got them. Well, I mean,
just a regular pepperoni slice, Sicilian slice. What's your favorite?
Yeah, no, I'd say just a plain cheese slice or pepperoni or something like that.
I think
pretty simple. I love the belly buster or whatever different people call it, the special with everything on it.
Oh, those are good too when you're feeling a little gluttonous. I'm particularly fond of just a pepperoni extra cheese.
Okay,
that's my shit. We actually have a little deal going. So what's that place called? What's the place called that makes those giant slices?
There's a place, Coronet, Koronet. And they've got 3 locations, one in Washington Heights, one's over near Columbia, and then one on 77th and Lex. And the slices are huge. They're probably the size of 2.5 slices each.
So pretty much...
Artie thinks he can eat 5 slices of them.
Now we'd agree, not pepperoni. Or wait, pepperoni, but I have 1 whole hour, right?
Yeah, he has 1 whole hour to eat 5 slices.
There it is. Yeah. I mean, for people who have never seen me, I'm a fat dude, so I personally believe that I am totally fine, capable of pulling that off. I've been kind of like slacking on it, but it will happen soon, and I'm down to do it. These slices are pretty big. You said, what do you think? They're like 2.5 times bigger than a regular slice?
I think probably 2 or 2.5 times.
So 5 would be 12 slices.
Now, one of the rules we had made was no dunking like they do in the...
No.
But,
that's
since then I've thought maybe with the crust you could dip it in sauce or something.
No, I mean,
but that's up to you.
Okay, what if I thought about this bet, right? So the strategy would pretty much be eat all the pizza, right? All the main good part, the cheesy, saucy crust part. And then when you have the crust at the end, right, you just collect all of it kind of like into one giant bread and just eat the shit. Try not to think about it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save all the crust for last and then just power through it.
All right.
Or I can do the opposite where I can just rip off all the crust and eat it.
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt with a lot of with a lot of it. But yeah,
I'm gonna whatever.
I can't wait to see him accomplish this task.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it soon. Maybe this. So I'll do it sometime this week, and then I'll put it up on the Instagram so you guys can see me like die of cholesterol poisoning or whatever. So the pizza. I mean, for me personally, like I said, that cheese slice with pepperoni and extra cheese, I think that's like the bomb. I think there's a couple things that are really important. One, I feel like you need to have good dough to cheese to tomato sauce ratio. That's really important. A lot of people have a lot of dough, not enough tomato sauce, a lot of cheese, and they call that a pizza. It's bullshit. You need to have, but you can't have too much tomato sauce where it's almost
New York slices tend to be a little light on the tomato sauce.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Sure, but still, like, there's some people that like have like almost none. You know, it needs to be enough so I can taste it. Number two,
right?
I think what's really important is the acidity of the cheese, and now I sound like one of these fancy, I don't know, whatever. The acidity, like the sharpness of the cheese versus the sweetness of the tomato sauce. Okay. Like sometimes I find places have sauce that's way too sweet and tastes like shit, and sometimes they have cheese that doesn't have enough oomph. It's like I'm eating plastic.
Right. That's probably too much skim mozzarella mixed in with the whole mozzarella. That makes it tough and flavorless.
So in a lot of places, like I find
depends on the blend.
Like Delicia, for instance, does it all right. They have the perfect amount of sauce. The sauce is a little sweet, a little salty. The cheese has great it stretches beautifully, right?
Right.
And it also has a little bit of that sharpness to it that I love. And also then you have the crust, right? So I think I brought up the crust. Can't be too thick. So that's my whole thing for pizza. You know, you need to have good balance in all the ingredients, and you're gonna have like some good shit. And you can't I can't say that every mom and pop shop in New York has achieved this balance, but there's definitely a whole ton of places that make good pizza, that have a good balance.
I'd say most of them make a pretty good pizza.
Well, listen, I mean, it depends on the first of all, you're right. I'll eat pizza from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe like two places where I would rather be hungry than eat pizza, but all the other places, like especially if I'm a little drunk, I'll eat some goddamn pizza, no problem, anywhere in New York, right? But I don't know. I don't know if I'm as generous as you are. There's some places that I think are just slacking.
Right. I mean, there are basically the two kinds of pizza. There's the kind that you go to a pizzeria and you order a slice,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the kind where you go and you sit down at a table and eat it, and it's a little, they tend to be coal oven fired pizzas and a little more going back to the original pizza instead of just the grab a slice and go.
Yeah, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by that artisanal. You just give me that.
Well, it's just old style the way it started out.
Well, so pizza. So if I'm not mistaken, there was actually a town, or was the chef's name? I don't remember, but the origin of pizza was pretty much that it was the Queen of Italy was coming to the village, and a chef was supposed to make her food that represented Italy. So he took bread, and he put some tomato sauce to represent the red. He put some mozzarella to represent the white, and then he put some basil or something to represent the green of the flag, and that's how the first pizza was created.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
like
and
a
it
margarita.
was like a thin, well, exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what it was, a margarita slice.
Maybe it was it Queen Marguerite
It might
or
have
something?
been. It might have been. I don't know. I
wonder if that's the name.
So I know what you're talking about. It's more of like a little not really as thick with ingredients as like New York slices or Chicago slices are. It's more simplified.
Right.
It's just literally those three things. It's not bad. So okay, next we also talked about bagels. So personally, I am a big fan. If I'm having a bagel,
Mm-hmm.
This is my shit. Ready? Everything bagel toasted.
Right.
With vegetable cream cheese and bacon.
Okay.
That's my go-to bagel concoction. What do you love?
I don't know. A lot of times I'll just get the everything with cream cheese or something like simple like sesame with egg salad.
Ooh, egg salad.
I like egg salad on a bagel.
Yes.
Or olive cream cheese. I like that too.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't like olives, but that sounds like it could be interesting. Really quickly, since you brought out the beast, I'm a big fan of egg salad, but I must complain. There's places in Manhattan that make the shittiest egg salad, and there's some places that make the most delicious egg salad I've ever had in my life. Like hot bagels that you mentioned, Jumbo Hot Bagels, right? That place makes a good egg salad. I've had it before.
Yeah.
Albeit a little pricey, but this is Manhattan, so whatever. We're not even talking about price. You know what I mean?
Right.
Personally, here's the thing about bagels. I enjoy a bagel that's not toasted, right? But I think that toasted bagels are like, if you get a shitty bagel and you toast it, there's a better chance you'll enjoy it than if you get like a rubbery old bagel. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes if there's any doubt, I will ask the people getting the bagel ready, they'll ask, do you want it toasted? And I'll say, well, you tell me, is it fresh enough? Because if it's not fresh, if it's fresh enough, you don't need it.
It's good. It's good by itself. But if it's not, you got to toast that sucker. And sometimes, well, that's a good. There you go, folks. That's a life hack. That's a Johnny Bananas life hack to picking out bagels. Just ask the dudes. And on that note, I want to tell you. I want to tell everybody a fat life hack from me. So listen, you go into McDonald's, and this isn't just Manhattan. This is for everybody. But guys, pay attention. This is super important. You go into McDonald's, right? And we all know that the McDonald's has the best fries. And the McDonald's fries, don't give me that face. You know it's true. The McDonald's fries, if you want them fresh, just tell them no salt. If you tell them no salt, they will always have to make the fresh fries for you.
Okay.
So that's a life hack. If you want fresh fries, tell them no salt. And then just take some salt and put it on the fries. Boom. Now you have fresh fries every single time. No second guessing.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great one. This is how I got to this weight, bro. By knowing all this shit. So I think if we're gonna continue on the food thing, I mean the bagels and the pizza are pretty big. I saw in your book there, you have black and white cookies. I didn't
Right.
realize those are from New York. I thought those were general like. Did those originate in New York City?
There's something in upstate New York called a half moon cookie that's similar, but the frosting is a lot thicker, and it has a chocolate cake instead of the white cake. But yeah, the black and white cookies are a New York original.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea. I always thought that it was just you know. I never really. I mean, everybody sells them here, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I've been getting them along with iced coffee a lot this summer.
That's another thing. That's another thing, man. Black and white cookies, right? There's some places that have really, really great black and white cookies, and some places where the icing tastes like freaking plastic and
Right,
stuff.
right,
You know
right.
what I'm talking about? I've
Yep.
literally had black and white cookies where I would take a bite, like let's say of the white part, be like, okay, this tastes like shit. Let's see if the chocolate part will redeem anything. And you
Right.
bite the chocolate part, and you're like, well, that tastes like shit too, and just throw it in the garbage. But there's some times where you're like, oh, look at this black and white cookie, and 3 seconds later, it's gone, right? Because
Right.
you eat it in 3 bites.
I like the ones at Lenwich. they've
Oh,
got
Lenwich,
they've got the right kind of cake, a little bit dense, slight lemony flavor to it,
Really? So it's a little sour too.
just a little
That's nice.
yeah,
I'm getting
a little
hungry.
punch to it, and then the chocolate side overlapping the white side just slightly, just like it should be.
Really? There's a preferred
Absolutely.
percentage? I didn't.
No, yeah, half and half, but the black one just overlapping just slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I have. Do they make just chocolate or just what?
I have
Vanilla
seen those.
ones? They have 'em?
I have seen those.
I don't think I've ever seen that shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. So and I guess what else? What else we got? New York foods. The New York hot dog.
Hot dog was originally from New York.
Really? Wait,
Yeah.
wait. Like the whole concept of a. Well, no, because I feel like they were doing
see,
schnitzels and shit in Germany before New York.
Yeah, and I don't know how they define that exactly, whether it's just a sausage on a roll. I would think that would have to be done before, or whether it's the size and content of the hot dog on a roll, or what.
Because I feel like, so I feel like if we're talking about sausages, like Italian or German schnitzels or some shit,
Right.
they usually have like whole meat ground up with herbs and vegetables.
Right.
Maybe like some egg yolk to bind it, and then they put that in usually like a lamb stomach, right? But that's like an old-fashioned schnitzel. That's been around for a long time because sheep stomach was really good to use for, like making sausages. Sausage has been around for a while. But I feel like the New York sausage, which is kind of like, the pink slime. You know what I'm talking about? Like the
Right.
the processed, ultra processed, like it's full of like pig anuses and or Hebrew National, it's cow. You know what I mean? It's like all the leftover
Cow anus instead of
udders.
pig anus.
Yeah, the nasty
Right.
shit. But it tastes so damn good that we just don't even think about it and eat it.
But yeah, they got their start in Coney Island. So
No way.
Yep.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that the Nathan's in Coney Island was the first hot dogs ever?
it was actually I think probably the second. This other guy had a cart and sold hot dogs, and then this guy Nathan worked for him
Get the fuck.
and opened his own
Wow.
shop.
That's
And he got this place out on Coney Island, a little store area, and he wasn't making a lot of money off of it at first, and he was sleeping in the store and then working all day.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
hustling.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. I see. I lived really close to Coney Island. I lived in Bensonhurst.
Mhm.
Coney Island was like a little bike ride away, and I used to chill there all the time by the beach. And I swear I had no idea that that's where the hot dog was invented. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You kind of guessed it would be New York, and it kind of makes sense because Coney Island was like the first attraction, I would say, of New York City. Would you agree?
Mhm.
I mean,
Sure.
Coney Island used to be a real big deal, and before it burned down, right? You had the freak show. What was it called? It's not called.
It's not Luna Park now, is it? What
What do you mean?
Luna Park?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. But don't they have that famous freak show over there?
Yeah, they've got one over there. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but
Yeah.
it's been there forever.
But I remember it used to be way bigger.
I know a guy who actually bends steel.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
This guy Chris, that's his job.
Oh, he
There's
works
even
there?
a documentary.
Really?
Not there, but somewhere, at places like that.
Speaking of bending steel, check this out. So, when I lived in Moldova overseas, where I was born, for 2 years, year and a half. I got an apartment, and when I got the apartment, I found a frying pan that was bent like completely like into like a roll, like a tube. Yeah. So what I had found out is that the tenant that lived there before me was the strongest man in Moldova. He was actually a celebrity, and he had left it there. Like it was signed by him and everything. So I literally moved in. The fat American moved into the strong man's apartment. So I also.
Do you still have it?
No, I left it over there.
All right.
Yeah. So what else? Let me think. I'm trying to think. What else would constitute New York food? No, fried chicken is south, right?
Yeah, but
what do you got in the book? What do you got in the book?
But chicken and waffles is, everybody thinks that's a southern thing, but
I think so as well. What do you tell me? No,
it started in Harlem.
Chicken and waffles, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Like you would think it's kind of like soul food.
Sort of
like southern.
It is. It's absolutely soul food.
But you're saying it started up here in Harlem.
It was just sort of a more substantial kind of meal.
Listen, we all know exactly what chicken and waffles is. Chicken and waffles is just an excuse for people to eat fried chicken for breakfast. That's it.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't. People don't think too much of about eating a waffle with sausage, so there's not really that much difference. A breakfast meat's a breakfast meat.
That's true. And oh man,
the savory and the sweet.
Speaking of fried chicken, do you know what I had recently that blew my mind?
What's that? Oh yes, you told me.
The Popeyes chicken sandwich was dumb. Listen, I understand why people got killed for this shit. I'm serious. It is something. Like, cause I went to the Popeyes. We got the sandwiches. We went the next day. They ran out. I almost killed somebody.
Wow.
They're seriously like drugs. They're fat. The chicken is fat as hell. Big ass chunk of chicken, which is really nice. It's nice and juicy. Also, that shit is deep fried, and the fried chicken skin around the, what am I trying to say? The what do you call that? The breading.
Right.
The breading. There you go. The breading is super crispy.
Nice.
And amazing. And there's like a lot of it. Right, so you got a fat-ass piece of moist chicken surrounded by a really well-seasoned breading, right? Mm-hmm. Plus you got 2 really, really delicious, like 3 pickles, dill pickles.
All right.
Right? And then, like, spicy sauce.
All right.
And then this is a brioche bun. Brioche.
Okay.
Brioche. So fancy, it's French name. You know what I'm saying? It's probably Italian. I don't know, but it's brioche. It means it's, like, really...
Probably
like
French.
Some kind of soft, sweet bread. And
right.
Everything together... is freaking perfect, and I totally get why people got killed for it.
Right.
Now I got so excited about the sandwich that the third day, so the second day we didn't get shit, but we went back the third day and I bought 4 of them. And I just want everybody listening, please pay attention. This is a public service announcement. Do not eat 4 Popeyes chicken sandwiches, especially the spicy ones, because I had heartburn all night. I swear I didn't sleep for like 24 hours because I was like curdling in pain because my whole insides was on fire. So stick to 2. 2 is fine. No, but seriously, dude, did you hear about this all over the news? People are.
I've heard. Yeah, I've seen.
Go try. If you haven't tried it, try it. It's actually like I have these 2 guys that I know. They're really like hard to impress. You know what I mean? So when I tell them like, yo, Popeyes has a sandwich that somebody was literally murdered over. Right? They were like, okay, well, this is bullshit. And then I finally got them, convinced them to drive over to Popeyes with me to get it. First time we tried it. And now, every day, they're like, yo, you want to go get some murder sandwiches? Like, every day. This stuff is great. Try it. I mean, I don't know. If you're a fan of fried chicken, it's definitely worth it. And plus, you enjoy it just that little bit more knowing that somebody actually got killed for this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of wild. That it was kind of like became a meme just because of that, right? Like, so
right.
It was a little popular, then some guy got jumped for it, and then everybody wanted it. And it ran out in 3 days. They ran out of the sandwiches for 3 days, and then 2 months. It took them 2 months to get more sandwiches. You know what I mean? Just because of one stabbing, they sold out like that.
Wow. Amazing what
yeah, right.
what press can do for you.
That's what I call, marketing, right? That's what the brand's got to start doing now. You got to start, like, you pump out a new product, just make sure somebody gets fucked up, and That's it. No, that's my guys. This is a PG-13 show, and just like the movies, I'm allowed one F-bomb per episode. That's how it works now. Did you know that?
No.
PG-13 movies are allowed one F-bomb.
Okay.
Every movie. And that's the thing I like to think about a lot. I like to think about PG-13 movies like Star Wars and stuff, and I like to think like, where would I put the F-bomb? Probably like when Luke gets his hand cut off. Whatever. I'm sorry. No, guys, the Nerd Out episode is going to be next week. I got my buddy Jumbo coming on, and we're going to nerd out about the next Star Wars movie. So we're going to keep that, tucked away for now. I don't want to bring that out just yet. Next week. So listen, I just realized we spent the last 30 minutes just talking about food, which I'm totally cool with. I love food. Should we keep the food thing going, or should we try to talk about something else? Well, what we've basically been talking a lot about, things that you would associate with New York, except for the last thing, the chicken and waffles. That was pretty cool. But there's also, a lot of diversity that New York comes with, and you can actually get a lot of really good stuff that's like more ethnic food. Like, for instance, like me and you hung out. What was it like for? When was the San Gennaro feast? Like last month?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so you have the San Gennaro
mid-August
feast.
maybe or something.
Yeah, which was in Little Italy. Like you can go to Little Italy. They have tons and tons of delicious food. What do you like? I'm a big fan of the cannolis. That's really my favorite thing.
I like them. I like Zeppelis.
Zeppelis are really good. For all people that don't know, Zeppelis is like this fried dough that they put powdered sugar all over. It's very, very delicious. Honestly, it's very fattening. It's literally like you're eating pure fat, but it's delicious. I love it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I like those too, though.
Sausages?
No, the pastry you were talking about, filled cannoli. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, they're good.
Hell yeah. Oh man,
they can be really bad, but down there in Little Italy, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
John's the cannoli king and Ferraro's.
They're always really great. And if you are in like around that area of the city, Chinatown, Little Italy, there's also Marbury Street Cigars. They have hand rolled cigars. You can jump over there, grab a cigar, grab a cannoli. Now, also, I want to talk about Chinatown. There's really two things that you want to look out for in Chinatown, I think, right? In my book, at least. There's a lot of great places, but there's one place called, you can just Google it. I don't remember the address, but it's Malaysian Beef Jerky.
Oh, okay.
It's a Malaysian beef jerky spot, and it is off the hook. They got pork, beef, chicken in spicy and non-spicy mode, and they are absolutely delicious. I literally went there. The first time I went to Malaysian beef jerky, I spent $50 on beef jerky.
Wow.
I regret nothing. It's great. And then secondly, I think one of the best things you can get in Chinatown personally is soup dumplings. Have you ever had soup dumplings?
I love soup dumplings.
I can't really suggest a specific spot to get them because honestly every place I've been to so far has really good ones. But if you Google it, you can find a spot.
Joe's Shanghai is the famous one.
There you go. There's one.
But there are others right around there.
Yeah. There's really nobody that gets it wrong. Just I find a lot of people aren't familiar with soup dumplings. What a soup dumpling is pretty much a big dumpling, right? But inside, what they do is when they fill the dumplings up, they put like a frozen gelatin of soup and meat, and then when they cook it, that melts into soup. So now you have a dumpling that's full of soup. So what you do is you gotta crack it open a little bit, drink the soup, and then eat the dumpling. It's amazing.
Yeah, do not put it in your mouth all at once.
No. I've learned this the hard way. It's like
you will
1,000.
scald yourself.
Oh yes, it's horrible. It's you definitely need. I mean, for being a big guy that likes to really like mow food down, like it's my last meal. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate the fact that this is something I have to take my time to eat. You know what I mean?
Well, keep an eye on his Instagram page because we're definitely doing that 5 slices of pizza thing.
Yeah.
The 5 jumbo coronet slices of pizza.
No. Listen, and even if I fail, I'll be more than happy to pay for it just because it's okay. It's all good. Sometimes it's good to challenge myself. I told you my strategy for that. I'm not gonna like fast or anything. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a really large meal the previous day, so really stretch out my stomach. By the next day, I'm probably gonna get all that out my system, and then but I'll still my gut will still be stretched out, and then I'll be hungry as shit. I'm probably gonna drink some vodka, smoke a little pot, and that's it. I'll be good to go. Maybe is there any rules against mid pizza pot break?
You have an hour.
No, because I'll do that. I'll take
Okay.
like 10 minutes, and so what? I'll take 10 minutes.
I'm just
I'll
saying you have an hour to get those 5 pieces down.
I'll smoke, and then I'm telling you right now, if I take 10 minutes out of that hour to smoke,
Mm-hmm.
it will make the last half of it so much easier, probably much faster too. Because that opens up my second stomach when I smoke. You know?
Yeah. You're like a cow. You have 3 of them.
Yeah, that's right. Do cows have 3 stomachs?
I think it's 3.
Is that real?
Yeah. Just to...
Damn. I gotta Google that. That sounds crazy to me. I know that giraffes have like 3 hearts. But anyway, we're getting
I hadn't heard that one.
we're getting sidetracked. So anything else you want to bring up as far as food goes, Johnny? I mean, there's ice cream spots. You can get like, what's that? Spumoni.
Right.
There's a lot of great spumoni spots in Little Italy as well.
I don't know much about Spumoni.
I mean, it's all right. It's almost like diet ice cream. It's weird.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but
All
I mean,
right.
some people like it. It's something between ice cream and Italian
gelato.
ices.
Yeah.
Some in between. So, so I guess that's about it as far as food. Actually, no. You know what? Forget that. We have 10 more minutes. I'm gonna finish up with food. We're gonna do a food episode today. What are your thoughts? Do you eat steak?
I love steak.
Oh, okay, perfect. Because that's really what I want to know about. So, what would you say, in your opinion, is your favorite steakhouse here in New York?
I mean, there are a lot of them.
Good.
You know, the Palm I used to like because of the atmosphere, and just it was a place that was frequented by the Mad Men generation of, you know, steak and 2 martini lunch and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so this place is like
But
old school.
They moved across the street from where they were, and I've only been to that location once.
I see.
But yeah, I mean, there's what's it called, Gallagher's or something like that over in the theater district. That's really good.
Mm.
I love Keen's Chop House. It's kind of not talked about as much. It's a little bit less known than some of the ones like Peter Luger's.
Mm-hmm.
The steak there,
I'll be
steak
honest.
there is great, and they're famous for their mutton chop, which is
Ooh.
huge and amazing.
Yeah, size is very important for me, to be honest. I'm a big size queen when it comes to my meat.
Yeah,
I love fat steaks.
I'm not going there.
I love fat steaks. I'm not gonna lie. But also, you know, like, so for instance, the last steak I had was Peter Luger's,
Okay.
and I gotta say, I was kind of unimpressed. And let me tell you why. When I eat a steak, the general, like, if it's a good steak, obviously the first couple bites will be the best,
Okay.
right? Obviously, right? You just get into it. You're
Right,
hungry.
right.
You know, you're like finally getting that juicy meat. So,
Mm-hmm.
and but then, you know, you should at least enjoy the rest of the steak enough, right, to take the steak and like gnaw at the bone. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta enjoy the whole. But with
Right.
Peter Luger's, I felt like I had a couple bites. I was like, this is pretty good, and then after the third bite, it was like got progressively worse and worse and worse, and then I realized like this is it's juicy, but there's like lacking of flavor.
Yeah, I like it there. I thought it was good, but I understand. I think it's a little
bit overhyped.
I think it's exactly, a little overhyped.
The best steak I ever had was actually Wolfgang's.
Oh,
my
really?
God. Oh, whoa.
Over on 54th, right?
So,
That one?
okay, here's the thing. It was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I wasn't kidnapped, but I kind of got into a taxi, and they took me to the location. I didn't know where I was going. It's a long story. I don't want to get into it. I won a competition at work.
I want to hear that. Yeah?
Yeah. So it was this, whatever. Real quick. It was a sales thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I got $1 million. I got to $1 million in gross sales after 8 months. So what they did is, to reward me, they decided to take me to Wolfgang's. But what they told me is, they told me that I was going to be it was going to be a marketing event. So they're like, yo, dress up, throw on your suit, you know, and we'll have a cab pick you up and bring you to the marketing event. We'll meet you there. And ended up bringing me to Wolfgang's.
Wow.
And they bought me steak. My boss bought me steak. Now that's why, yeah, and that shit was, it was unbelievable. You know what? This is gonna be a slightly unpopular opinion, especially with our Jewish and Muslim listeners, but I love that one fat piece of steak, bacon that they give you. Have you had that?
Oh,
you know, steakhouses, they love giving you that one fat chop of, like,
right,
pork,
right.
like the pork belly, but it's like really thick. Peter Luger's gives it to you with like an onion or some shit. It's kind of weird.
Right, hanging up or something like that, right?
I don't know. But
Is
it's
it there?
delicious. I love that.
There's somewhere that does that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it when they give you that giant piece of like bacon with your meal, like nice and salty. Really goes well with the beef. Oh, man, I'm getting hungry. We should get some food after this. I mean, as far as so we've talked a lot about, like different foods in New York. But I gotta tell you something. Do you know what else is one of my favorite things that probably you won't agree with? But like some of these like Tex-Mex Chinese food spots, like this I think they're so great in New York.
Yeah.
Like I've had Chinese food in other places outside of New York, and it's always sucks. I feel like New York City has the best like Chinese food too. And I want to make sure people understand. I'm talking about the cheap like sesame chicken with pork fried rice. I'm not talking about like authentic traditional Chinese food, dim sum, and all that. That's completely different. That's awesome too. But I can't say that's the best in New York because I just don't know. But I know that as far as like other states that I've been to, other places that I've been to, it doesn't compare.
There are 800,000 Chinese in the 5 boroughs. So
Chinese people?
yes.
Yeah, well, of course. But I feel
there's going to, if that's 10% of the population, there's going to be good Chinese food.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, I honestly don't think that the Chinese population in New York eats that food. That food is made for Americans. Let's be honest.
Sure.
Yeah, like General Tso's chicken.
Yeah,
of
course.
General Tso's not even a real dude. They just made that shit up. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to our show today. We had a lot of fun talking to you guys about food all across the city. It was supposed to be a New York show, ended up being a food show. I'm totally cool with that, but I got to tell you, I'm starving right now. So, guys, if you wanna follow me, there's pretty much 2 places I want you to check out. That's Ashhole NYC, ASHHOLE NYC. It's on Instagram and YouTube. I post videos up there and a lot of informational stuff on the Instagram as well. So please go check that out. Johnny, is there anything else you'd like to tell the people before we sign off?
His Instagram page is great.
Oh.
It's just a couple things every day just crack me up.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you, and that'll be all for Smoke Signals. Artie out.
All right, bye.
I love cigars. Blah, blah, blah.